Welcome back to the channel. As always, let me start with a little reminder. Nothing here is financial advice. I could always be wrong. The crypto markets are volatile. They move in ways that sometimes make no sense at all, and the last thing I want is for someone to blindly follow without doing their own homework. So make sure you guys take time to do your own research, verify everything you hear, and most importantly, invest only in what you truly understand and believe in. This content is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not financial advice. Always do your own research before making any investment decisions. Now, real quick before I dive into the big updates for today, for anyone who's still searching for a reliable crypto exchange to get started or to diversify their trading, definitely check out my link to BTCC. Not only is it one of the platforms that I personally use, but if you're a first-time depositor, you also get a 10% bonus. That's free money added on top of what you're putting in, and honestly, who doesn't love that? It's a nice way to maximize your first steps, especially if you're planning to hold for the long term. All right, let's jump into today's content. The market overall hasn't been great lately. We've been seeing some red days stacked together, which naturally brings some negativity, but at the same time, there are sparks of green scattered across the charts. That's what keeps us excited, the fact that even in pullbacks, we see resilience in certain assets. For instance, Arrow has been up nearly 6% in the last 24 hours, which is solid performance considering the broader environment. I actually hold some Arrow myself, so it's nice to see that little boost. But today, our focus isn't Arrow. The star of the show, as always, is ZBCN, and right now it's not looking all that bad despite the noise in the broader market. In fact, there are some really interesting developments worth highlighting, and I'm going to pull up the charts in just a bit. But before we go chart watching, let's talk about a big update that came out recently. So check this out. Just about 52 minutes ago, it was posted that Simon, one of the key figures associated with the project, will be speaking at Cambridge University's International Symposium on Economic Crime. He's joining a lineup of industry leaders, regulators, and representatives from organizations like the CFTC and other global regulatory bodies to talk about compliance and crypto regulatory standards. Now, why is this significant? Because regulatory clarity and compliance are the keys to mainstream adoption. You've heard me say this before in previous ZBCN videos, but I'll repeat it because it cannot be stressed enough. ZBCN's team is making all the right moves. They aren't chasing hype, they aren't trying to cut corners, and they're not interested in short-term clout. They're laser-focused on building a foundation that lasts. This is what separates long-term winners from projects that burn out after a pump, and it's only a matter of time before ZBCN cracks into the top 100 on CoinMarketCap. Think about what happens when that milestone is hit. Suddenly, people who never even heard of ZBCN will start noticing it. Picture the CoinMarketCap bubble chart. You'll see this big green bubble pop up out of nowhere with ZBCN written on it. People scrolling through will stop and go, "Wait, what's this? How did it get here?" Curiosity kicks in, they dig deeper, and when they realize this is a legit project with real fundamentals, it's game over. Sky's the limit from there. Now, let me shift into another powerful point I came across recently. There was a post that perfectly captured the rotation potential for ZBCN. It said, "The perfect rotation play. ZBCN could go far higher. We already hit 007 without MiCA, without ISO 2022, without a Coinbase or Binance listing. That was pure market momentum. No big triggers." And this is such an important observation. Think about it. Without any of those massive catalysts, just momentum alone carried ZBCN to nearly $7. That's insane when you stop to think about it. Now imagine the perfect storm in Q1 or Q2 of 2026. MiCA compliance is fully approved, ISO 2022 certification is secured, major exchange listings like Coinbase and Binance are announced, and we enter the mid-cap utility boom phase. That's the type of scenario that can transform ZBCN from a promising altcoin into an undeniable heavyweight. Here's how the hypothetical scenario breaks down. From 0.007 already happened without any catalysts. The next step? 0.07 to 0.15s or even 0.2 with mica plus ISO. That's entirely possible. Then, imagine 0.2 to 0.6 or 0.07 driven by major listing hype. It's not just wishful thinking. The foundation is already laid out, and the momentum has proven itself. What we're waiting on are the catalysts that will supercharge the next leg up. Now, here's why this is all the more exciting. ZBCN's market cap is still relatively small. Right now, we're talking about roughly $400 million. That's peanuts compared to some of the bigger players. When you're sitting at $5 billion or $10 billion, sure, good news can move the price, but it takes massive amounts of new capital to make it surge. At $400 million, though, a single catalyst, one big listing, one piece of regulatory clarity, and the pump potential is massive. That's why I keep saying the upside here is still incredibly attractive. And yet, despite all of this, ZBCN isn't showing up on many YouTube feeds or mainstream crypto channels. That's how you know we're still early. The broader retail audience hasn't discovered it yet. We're essentially sitting at the ground floor, quietly accumulating while the world looks elsewhere. By the time ZBCN breaks into the top 100 and the spotlight shifts, we'll already be positioned. And that's what being an early investor is all about. Now, zooming out to the broader market context, yes, Ethereum has dipped under $4,400. The pullback has dragged a lot of coins with it. But here's the thing. When you know what you hold, temporary red days just don't bother you the same way. This is the difference between high-conviction plays and random speculation. High conviction means you can sit through volatility because you understand the bigger picture. Of course, I still diversify my portfolio. I do swing trades. I dabble in meme coins here and there because I like navigating through the market and generating capital. But the key difference is, I rotate those profits back into high-conviction projects like ZBCN. That's my strategy. It might not be yours, and that's perfectly fine. Some people just DCA consistently into their favorite assets, and that works too. The important thing is that you build a strategy you believe in and stick with it. Don't just copy me or anyone else blindly. And this is crucial. Always conduct your own research. Learn to read charts. Learn to analyze volume, sentiment, market cycles, and tokenomics. Too many people look only at price action without understanding what's happening behind the scenes. Price alone doesn't tell the story. You need to understand unlock schedules, supply dynamics, partnerships, catalysts, and regulations. That's how you build conviction. Now, let's dig into the latest ZBCN stats. Over the past 24 hours, ZBCN is essentially flat, up about 1%. Its current market cap sits at $422 million, and trading volume is down 12% compared to yesterday. Community sentiment, however, remains sky high, sitting at 89% positive across more than 78,000 votes. That's a huge signal of confidence. And remember, ZBCN is still not listed on Coinbase or Binance. Imagine what happens when those announcements eventually drop. Another key factor today is the token unlock. August 15th marks another unlock period, which I originally thought would be better to cover tomorrow after seeing the impact. But the movement today has already been interesting. Early in the day, the price took off, but as Ethereum started crashing, ZBCN pulled back with the rest of the market. Right now, Ethereum is around 430, and naturally, ZBCN followed the broader correction. Here's what's worth noting. The token unlock represents 2.2% of the total supply. The same amount will be unlocked in September, but after that, the unlock size drops in half to about 1.04%. That means less sell pressure moving forward, which is actually very bullish long-term. These monthly unlocks do create short-term volatility, but history has shown us that ZBCN always rebounds. Over and over, the pattern repeats. That's why seasoned holders aren't worried. Today, for example, ZBCN dipped to about 0.04599 before bouncing back up to 0.5lers. That's resilience. And yes, the market correction dragged it down again, but this is exactly the kind of shakeout that builds stronger bases for the next rally. Sometimes ZBCN even ignores the market completely and rallies on its own momentum. I wouldn't be surprised if, within the next couple of days, we start seeing a nice bounce back to the upside. So don't get spooked by the red. This is part of the cycle. What matters is conviction, patience, and understanding what you hold. And I'll end with this. ZBCN is one of those projects that checks the boxes. Strong team, smart moves, upcoming catalysts, regulatory focus, and growing community conviction. Short-term volatility is noise. Long-term vision is everything. If you made it this far into the video, smash that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts on ZBCN, and don't forget to subscribe if you're new here. We talk about opportunities like this every single day, and the goal is to help each other navigate this wild market with more clarity and confidence. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.